fellow seekers of mystery and justice. I'm Kitty, your guide into the enigmatic realm of New England. Welcome to Mine, Missing, Murdered, Unidentified in New England, where we delve into the chilling tales that have haunted the corners of Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Prepare to embark on a journey through the shadows of the last decade, from the start of 2010 to the close of 2020. Our stories, sourced from the depths of history, are as diverse as the New England landscapes they unfold in. Some episodes will lead us on an extensive exploration, while others may be swift glimpses. For these cases often shroud themselves in secrecy, leaving us with only morsels of information to feast upon. Within these episodes, every word, every theory, and yes, even every mistake and misstep is a product of my own relentless pursuit of the truth. I promise to keep you informed with updates and correct any mistakes along the way. While I won't give trigger warnings for the wounds we uncover, after all, they are an essential part to the narrative. I'll be mindful with the more sensitive topics. We'll issue trigger warnings when discussing subjects of suicide, animal loss, domestic violence, and others, to ensure a respectful and considerate journey through the mysteries that await. So, dear listener, fasten your seatbelt and let's explore the shadows of New England together. December 3rd, 2011. Trigger warning, harassment and assault. Gail Arlene Miles was born in 1950 and was a champion for women and minorities. A complex woman who used to go on walks in Franklin Park with a pet parrot on her shoulder, until the parrot eventually flew off and never returned. Gail grew up in Roxbury, Massachusetts, loved shoes, stray animals, and had cats, dogs, ferrets, and birds that left her with nips, scratches, and bruises over the years, and was thought to have as many as 10 cats at one time. Gail was a wonderful woman who loved to travel and socialize, was planning a cruise with her cousin and enjoying life. Gail was described as brutally honest, outspoken, and stubborn. Gail had a strong passion for fighting back, was fearless, and possessed a booming laugh that could fill the room. Gail attended David A. Ellis Elementary School and was a Brighton High 68 graduate. The oldest sibling of 4, Gail didn't have many ties to her family. Gail married Adnelson Felix Cunecas Nelson so he could get his green card. This didn't work out, though. The couple divorced and Adnelson moved back to Brazil and died in 2014. At one point, Gail pursued teaching and dental hygiene, neither of which were for her. Gail knew she wanted to care for people, which led Gail to her career as a Watertown, Massachusetts police officer. Gail was hired in 1984 at the age of 34, a trailblazer who was the department's first black officer and only the second female officer. The city of Watertown, a suburb west of Boston, is a town of about 30,000 people and employed about 60 uniformed officers. 90% of the town's population is white, and so was the force. At the start of her career, Gail was with Sergeant Gerard Mullen, who said, quote, "The first female didn't work out well. Everybody had lots of doubts about her. I decided to test to see what she was like on the job, so we were driving around one day, and I said, I want you to know something. I said, you're only the second female cop we've had in this job, and the first one, in my opinion, was a total asshole, and I was very happy to see her leave. I don't know what you're looking like, I said, but if you're going to be like her, I'm going to throw you into the fucking trunk at 4 o'clock, and I'm going to let you out at midnight, and I'm going to have nothing to do with you." And she just said, "Well, just give me a chance." I said, "That's exactly what I intend to do." Sergeant Gerard Mullen said of Gail that she dealt with dysfunction in the workplace, a tough and lonely position of being black officer, second female in a station. As the years went on, Gail remained on night patrol as other less senior officers progressed off this shift. Gail admired the perceived camaraderie in the police force and found out for herself that it was not like family after the 12 years of harassment and abuse she dealt with. She got the Mass Coalition Against Discrimination involved. And towards the end of Gail's police career, Gail sued the police department for racial and sexual harassment and discrimination. Gail had been a victim of discrimination since original hiring. Gail was groped, rubbed against, called a prostitute, all by her fellow officers and co-workers. In late 2001, Gail received a $150,000 settlement out of court, and the police department worked to create a mandatory officer training program for sexual and racial harassment prevention. Soon after the settlement, Chief of Police DeVoe sent Gail a letter informing her that he was filing an application for her involuntary retirement, stating that she was unable and unfit to be a police officer. The department and Gail negotiated for the next 2 years, during which time Gail used up her accrued time off. In 2004, Gail retired on disability, and that was the end of Gail's career as a cop. 22 years on the force ended in 2004 with an involuntary retirement and pension. Gail was a resident of the 3-floor 8 Wardman Road, Roxbury, living on the 2nd floor, and in the middle of finding a new home after hers was foreclosed on. The new landlord allowed Gail to live on the 2nd floor until a new place could be found. The National House of Historic Places says the building that Gail was living in was built in 1912. Mallory Griffiths worked with Gail on tenants' right issues for City Life Vida Urbana, a grassroots community organization, as Gail was handling her affairs with the building. Gail was not having a good go of her finances either. In 2003, Gail took out a mortgage for $175,000 and another one for $357,000 6 months later. After marrying Adnelson, an undocumented Brazilian, Gail took out yet another mortgage, this time for $401,000. Gail lived on a fixed income of $60,000, and her home was worth less than 1/2 of what she borrowed. Gail, stuck with all the mortgages, made 1 monthly payment in 4 years. Weeks before her murder, her house was foreclosed on, and Gail was there when it was sold at auction, and the cycle continued. Gail bought her home from foreclosure for $500 in the 1970s. Gail was waiting to meet with her new landlord, but by 8:30 p.m. no meeting had taken place, and that was the last time anyone heard from Gail. November 28, 2011. At 10:08 a.m., Saturday, December 3, 2011, Jamaica Plain law enforcement responded to a call at 8 Wardman Road for an unknown situation. The deadbolt and lock were engaged, and there were no signs of forced entry. Gail is said to have known her killer and allowed them into her apartment based on the security and type of injuries Gail sustained. Law enforcement broke in through the back door during a welfare check performed by Officer Jose Diaz after a friend had tried to get into contact with Gail multiple times. Several cruisers were on the scene, and Boston Police Department didn't know a former cop moved into the neighborhood. Gail was discovered laying face up on the kitchen floor, surrounded by dried blood. The house looked realtor-ready because it was. Gail's throat was either slashed or stabbed, sustained several cuts and bruises, likely received prior to death, and her death certificate reads, blunt force head trauma and sharp force neck injuries, beaten and cut by others. Gail hadn't been sexually assaulted, she had been straight up violently murdered, and the killer or killers took of or disposed of the weapons. According to Charlene Henry Woods, a friend of over 30 years, Gail was too careful and too savvy to expose herself to dangers, and was not going to open the door for just anyone. Gail's body was identified by her estranged mother, Marilyn. Gail had no relationships with her family during her final years of life, due to custody disputes, grudges, and the like. The final 3 days of Gail's life are unclear based on sources. Some pieces fit together, while some don't. Either the 1st or 2nd of December, Gail picked up her ID for her benefits from her old apartment and had a day of drinks with former co-workers at a local spot. The co-workers' names weren't released or are unknown, and the bar wasn't disclosed either. During the investigation, it was discovered that the handgun Gail always carried went missing after she was murdered, for fingerprints, as the place had been wiped clean. Gail's family felt the investigation didn't expand past the first week due to either purposeful negligence or ineptitude. When the family went to Gail's home, they discovered a broken chair with blood on it in the apartment that hadn't been examined for forensics. Gail was buried in a brown casket at Blue Hill Cemetery in Braintree. Gail's mom passed without finding what happened out to Gail, and Gail's sister Gina keeps fighting for justice. Theories as to why someone murdered Gail revolve around money, love, and revenge. The mortgages and money that came with them, such a small amount of time for such an exorbitant amount of money. Where did it come from, and where did it all go? Gail had a deal with a new owner to live on the 2nd floor. 3 days later, Gail was found dead. The rental contract was not found by police, yet when Gail's pocketbook was returned from evidence, the rental contract was inside. Another theory was that an argument escalated, but law enforcement could find no ill feelings from other people. It is unknown what the new building owner had to say about Gail or her demise, and it isn't clear if he's been interviewed by law enforcement. Another theory is a police cover-up of 2 decades worth of abuse, paired with Gail's reemergence shortly before her murder. Maybe an old lover. No evidence of her husband reappearing is present. Lots and lots of theories, and no answers. Please call 1-800-494-TIPS with any information. December 6th, 2011. Daniel Soto was shot outside of 60 Dearborn Street in Roxbury, Mass. The suspect may be a black male in his late 30s to early 40s, now late 40s to early 50s, with dreads under a long black cap, who rode away on a bike. The shooting occurred at 8:30 p.m. on December 6, 2011, at Dearborn Liquors. Daniel died at Boston Medical Center. He was only 22. Please call 1-800-494-TIPS with any information. December 7th, 2011. Haidar Harry Abushgara is known for his jokes and laughter. A family man, Harry showered his 6 kids with love and affection. Of his 6 children, 1 set were of 1-year-old quadruplets. An Ellington, Connecticut resident, Harry was born December 21st, 1970, and will be 52 this year. Harry is the founder and was president of the National Palestinian American Congress, one of America's top Palestinian activists. Harry is 5'7" to 5'9" inches, weighing in between 180 and 205 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Harry was last seen December 7th, 2011, wearing a gray suit, white dress shirt, red tie, black dress shoes, a silver watch, and carrying a dark brown wallet. Harry was arrested on June 28, 2011, and charged with larceny, which is the unlawful taking of property in the first degree, and was released on $150,000 surety bond. Harry allegedly committed a scam where he sold borrowed cars, kept the profits, and didn't repay the lenders. At the time of his disappearance, Harry was free on bail totaling $700,000 with 6 felonies, including 3 first-degree larceny charges. Sensitive information was given to Harry's lawyer that the bail bonds company tried but were unable to use as collateral, So they lost $350,000 in bonds when Harry didn't reappear in court for his larceny trials. December 7th, 2011, at 8:24 p.m., was Harry's last contact with his wife, Nadahad, just before 8:30 meeting at 369 Main Street. Harry's phone was completely untraceable after his last call. Navahad said that Harry should have been home around 9 p.m. to take her out to the movies after a business meeting. Harry's Mercedes was found in the parking lot of his car dealership Family Auto of Manchester, located at 369 Main Street the following morning. There was no evidence of blood or foul play at the car dealership. On the day of Harry's disappearance, he got into a dispute with the mechanics he was renting garage space out to, as they hadn't paid their rent, and Harry discussed this fact the night he vanished. Though the mechanics claim ignorance of Harry's disappearance, they won't take polygraph tests. On the evening Harry went missing, he went to the garage to meet with the mechanics. They were behind on rent, and he was there to collect. The meeting escalated to the point that the mechanics created a lease and forged Harry's name on it to avoid paying rent. Before he called Navahad, Harry called his brother after the argument and asked him to come down to the garage because the mechanics were scaring him. A few moments later, he called his brother back and retracted his request. Law enforcement think that Harry might have purposefully disappeared to prevent prosecution, as he and his father had fraud charges pending against them, and his father had already flown back to Jordan, their country of origin. Harry is considered a fugitive from justice. He skipped bail on criminal charges in Manchester Superior Court for fraudulent car sales. After Harry's June arrest, his dealerships went under. And before vanishing, Harry was placed on the National Do Not Fly list, aka the Federal Watch List, for unexplained reasons. Harry's family doesn't think he would have left on his own free will. They believe that Harry is either detained or dead. Harry's family thinks he is being held captive by the U.S. government, and according to the 2012 National Defense Authority Act, families of detainees don't need to be informed of a family member's detainee status. Harry's niece has been a huge proponent of finding her uncle, and has made numerous YouTube videos about her uncle and what she believes happened to him, and in one of the videos, Harry's kids can be seen crying for their daddy to come home. An interesting article I found described the warning that Manchester attorney Ryan Berry received from a judge in regards to the investigation into Harry's disappearance. It was described as friendly advice, but scary. The judge warned that he ought to be worried about his personal safety and that these people play for keeps. The judge might have been referring to the international money laundering, drug smugglers, Palestinian liberationists, or ruthless criminals that are allegedly tied to Harry's case. According to one source, Harry's family members have confirmed that he worked with a group of car dealers whom the federal government has accused in civil asset forfeiture proceedings of shipping cars to Africa in a complicated drug, smuggling, and money laundering scheme. The scheme was allegedly designed to benefit Hezbollah, a militant Shiite Muslim group in Lebanon that the U.S. State Department has designated as a terrorist organization. Harry's family hired 2 private investigators and has filed suit against several newspapers who feel they reported false information about Harry after his disappearance. In February 2015, the town of Manchester fined the car dealership at 369 Main Street that Harry owned for not clearing snow off the sidewalk in front. At this point in time, Harry is in heavy debt from individuals and financial institutions, faces criminal and theft charges, and possibly prison time. Harry was also delinquent on his taxes, and his properties were to be sold at a tax sale. 2 properties went up for sale, one on Slant Street, one on Main Street. The sales finalized in 2016. There are lots of theories, but little evidence. Several people told police that Harry stashed thousands of dollars in cash at various locations. This has never been confirmed. Detective Max Cohen confirmed that Harry had acquired 2 uncirculated Connecticut license plates several days before he disappeared. Police are not sure what he intended to do with them, and also believe that Harry has fled the country due to his criminal and financial struggles. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Harry Abushgara, please call 1-860-645-5500. December 9th, 2011. To Chris's parents, Leroy and Sandra, you raised a fine young man. A character such as his is rare to find. Or, the most grown-up young man I knew. And thank you for raising such a great guy. Christopher Nicholas Owens was kind, sweet, funny, got along with everyone, and was deeply loved by a woman named Rosalita since the age of 14. Born March 5th, 1989, Chris was killed by gunfire at 47 Winston Road on December 9th, 2011, and is buried at Cedar Grove Cemetery in Dorchester, Mass. If you have any information, please call 1-800-494-TIPS. December 10th, 2011. The unidentified remains of a male of an uncertain race were discovered in West Springfield, Massachusetts. Measuring in at roughly 5'7" and 86 pounds, the near-complete or complete skeleton of the man was found in an undisclosed public location. The male had an unknown eye and hair color and appeared to be homeless. The deceased was found with a blue golf ball, a red lighter, 1 whistle, miscellaneous papers, 3 coins, and was wearing 1 pair of shorts, 1 t-shirt, 1 sweatshirt, and 2 pairs of socks. No comparisons have been made. Please call 1-800-494-TIPS. Our family has lost 10 years of love, smiles, wisdom, support, and happiness with them. For the past decade, we have hoped and prayed for answers and closure to this horrible crime. Jack and Jerry McGee met as teenagers at Arlington High School and went on to share a lifetime together, marrying February 19th, 1972. The pair were described as having a warm, generous, loving nature. Jack and Jerry shared almost 4 decades of happy marriage and were deeply devoted to each other and their children. They were described as, they are the nicest people, an ideal family. The lovely couple took trips to exotic locations, possessed a $1 million mansion located at 7 Orchard Crossing in Andover, Mass., that the couple built themselves, and a second home on the Florida coast in the town of Jupiter. By all accounts, Jack and Jerry were well respected and well liked by everyone. The couple had a son named John and a daughter named Holly, and a set of 2 grandchildren, ages 4 and 8. And John and Jack talked nearly every day. Jack was born November 7th, 1942 in Cambridge, Mass., and had the best smile and laugh. Jack drove a bulldozer for his father's company as a youth, earned a bachelor's in science and a Juris Doctorate from the New England School of Law. Jack was a non-practicing real estate attorney, was a member of the Massachusetts Bar Association, and was the president and co-owner of McGee Construction Company, which was founded by his father in 1951. Jack's son John was slated to take over the business. Jack was known as a fair and honest businessman who paid for his subcontractors on time and treated people who worked for him with respect and treated them well. Jack owned Advanced Realty and McGee Construction. The land construction and development business was lucrative and brought in lots of money. Jack and his son worked alongside each other, where Jack was teaching him the business in order for John to take charge, and Jack could take a backseat role in the company. Jack met his best friend Paul, who was the best man at his wedding nearly 40 years ago, every Sunday for breakfast. Jack's friend Jim said Jack is not someone who does shady stuff, and that's what everyone said of Jack. Jerry was born February 22nd, 1944, had a beautiful smile, a laughing personality, and a generous heart. Jerry loved to travel, visiting 6 continents and 40 countries, and was a member of the St. Teresa's Church in North Reading. Jerry worked as a realtor for Jack's company. Jerry recently got back from a Gulf vacation with her friends. When visiting their home in the retirement community in Florida, Jerry would play mahjong on Monday nights. On December 13th, 2011, Jack ran work errands and Jerry prepared for Christmas. Jack saw his son/business partner, John McGee III, to discuss building materials and left the office at about 3 p.m. and went to the next construction site in Reading, Mass. Jack went to a job site at Sailor Tom's Way in Reading, discussed bringing supplies to the job site, and cleared out the work truck with a longtime employee. The plan was for John to use the truck and transport the materials, as John was at the Orchard Crossing home office and left at 4:30 in Jack's company truck. Later that night, a black Lexus SUV owned by the McGees was found burning on Prince Street in Boston's North End. The windows of the Lexus were smashed, and it was discovered 20 to 30 miles in the area that was tied to mob activity. The same Tuesday evening, there were reports of the couple's dog barking, and this dog is reportedly not a barker. On the morning of December 14th, 2011, Holly called 911 at 9:19 a.m. and told dispatchers her parents were in a pool of blood on their first floor and beyond help. After calling 911, Holly called Diane to come get the kids. Diane was a family friend and wife of Paul, who was Jack's best friend. The couple were discovered laying head-to-head in the living room. Jack was shot in the head, neck, and chest, and Jerry was shot in the head. When officers arrived, they donned their Kevlar and unholstered their weapons. The couple's dog was inside and unharmed and taken care of by Andover Animal Control. The pair were discovered shot to death by Holly's children, who ran ahead of Holly in anticipation of seeing their grandparents. The door was unlocked, and there were no signs of forced entry. The murders appeared to be well planned as the shell casings were removed from the scene, a sign that the killer knew something about crime scene investigation, and there were no fingerprints found. The murder of this unsuspecting couple is being handled by the FBI, Massachusetts State Police, and Andover Police Department. Law enforcement followed leads in 4 different states, 20 different Massachusetts cities and towns, interviewed friends, families, and associates numerous times. Police conducted over 50 interviews. They also searched financial records, computers, homes, and motor vehicles. According to law enforcement, there are no suspects, no persons of interest, and no dangers to the community. The couple's friends said there was lots of coverage initially, but the story vanished from the media just as quickly. In 2003, Jack owned a disputed 17 acres and was paid over $1 million for land rights. And that's the only publicly known incident where we could find animosity, and that was amicably solved in 2003. There are theories as to who murdered the McGees, ranging from a mob hit, due to the policing of the bullet casings, the lack of forced entry, and the location where the couple's burned car was located has many mob ties in the area. Other theories are darker. Maybe someone the couple knew, maybe trusted. Could it be a coworker, a friend, a family member even? Some think the scorched SUV is a red herring to try and point the finger at the mob while keeping the real killer in the shadows. If you're interested in hearing more, check out the podcast Wicked Deeds for an in-depth look at the case. Please call 1-978-745-8908 or 1-978-623-3560 with any information. December 16th, 2011. Trigger warning: child abuse, neglect, and death. This next case was hard to research, write, and honestly, it's difficult to read aloud. It involves the abuse, neglect, and likely demise of a sweet baby girl named Ayla. Ayla loved to carry her baby doll with her, and her mom, Tricia, said she was awesome. She loved to dance and she loved to smile. She'd wake up in the morning jumping in her crib. That's how I knew she was awake. Little Ayla was also a camera hog, and her favorite song was Moves Like Jagger by Maroon 5, and she would dance in the mornings at breakfast time to it. Ayla Bell Reynolds was born April 4th, 2010, and vanished December 16th, 2011, and was declared dead by probate court on May 17th, 2017, with a death date likely that of December 17th, 2011. Ayla's biological father, Justin DiPietro, was accused of intentional wrongful actions and for subjecting Ayla to pre-death pain, fright, terror, and physical injuries. Ayla disappeared from Justin's home in Waterville, Maine on December 16, 2011. Foul play has been suspected since the original onset of the investigation, according to law enforcement. Before we get to the circumstances of Ayla's disappearance, we need to understand what was happening in her life, and the main players. Ayla's mom is Tricia Reynolds, who, by all accounts, was doing the best for her kids and her children's lives. Justin DiPietro, Ayla's biological father, was, for all legal precautions, doing his best, and his best fucking sucked, and he fucking sucks. Justin has a scummy mother named Phoebe, a scummy sister named Alicia, and a scummy girlfriend named Courtney. Ayla was a happy surprise. Trista and Justin split prior to Ayla's birth, so that Ayla spent most of her time with Trista. A paternity test said that Justin is indeed Ayla's father, and the court ordered him to pay back child support. Sometimes with Justin, Ayla would come home with mysterious injuries. Again, she was only 20 months old, so she should not have been getting mysterious injuries. Like the bruising Ayla returned with, was blamed on a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit. Except, there's no ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese. Days before Ayla likely dies, she sustained a broken arm due to her dad in a quote-unquote accident. According to Justin, it was raining, dark. He was carrying Ayla and groceries. He tripped and fell and broke Ayla's arm. Plausible, I suppose. But given the history of other injuries this little girl sustained, suspicious, if nothing else. Ayla had a broken elbow. At one point had a black eye. And bruises, all at the hands of Justin DiPietro. Trista was dealing with her addiction in order to become a better mother to her children, as Ayla has a brother 11 months younger than she was, which is how Ayla ended up with Justin in the first place. Trista was in rehab for alcohol or heroin addiction. Sources make it unclear which. Ayla was staying with Trista's relatives, as Ayla had a history of coming home with mysterious injuries after spending time with Justin. This was prior to Karen, a DHS worker, and a relative of Justin's, and the agent in control of Ayla's case, intervened. DHS failed Ayla. According to one source, prior to taking Ayla from Trista's family, DHS would also have to do 3 things before taking Ayla. Those 3 things were not done. The protocol was absolutely not followed. There was no visit to Justin's home. There was no background check on all the people living in the home. And there were no interviews conducted with family members. Again, none of these were done prior to turning Ayla over to Justin. Ayla lived in Justin's home for just 59 days. On the evening of December 16th, 2011, Courtney's child, Alicia, and Alicia's child, and Ayla were all in the house the night that Ayla disappeared. Justin put Ayla to bed at roughly 8 p.m. At 10 p.m., she was checked in on. She was there, and in the morning, Ayla was gone. The broken elbow checkup that was scheduled for December 12th was canceled by Justin. On December 6th, 2011, Justin sent Trista an angry text saying she will never see Ayla again. Trista spoke to Ayla on the phone December 8th, 2011, and that was the last time Ayla and Trista ever spoke. Justin had 2 kids, was unemployed, and took out 1 life insurance policy. And that was on little Ayla, just weeks before her death. Justin took out that life insurance policy the same day he took custody of Ayla while Trista went to rehab. According to a neighbor, at 3 to 3:30 a.m. on December 17th, 2011, there was a commotion coming from their neighbor Justin's property, and his car was running. The morning of December 17th, 2011, it was discovered that Ayla was missing by either Justin or Alicia. And prior to calling the police, Justin called his insurance salesman friend who had sold him the life insurance policy on Ayla just weeks before her disappearance. Once police were called, though, law enforcement showed up within 8 minutes of the 911 call. A voice analysis statement found deception in Justin's tone. Justin was impatient. The politeness in his voice was off given the situation, and the distancing vocab he used indicated deceptive language. Maine State Police said Justin, Courtney, and Alicia were there the night Ayla disappeared, and no more than they're saying. All 3 adults present speculate stranger abduction. Law enforcement said there is no evidence of that, and there have been no arrests. The police didn't put out an Amber Alert. And by December 18th, law enforcement said Ayla hadn't wandered away. Game wardens, the FBI, local and state law enforcement received and reviewed over 1,100 tips. The search cost Maine taxpayers nearly $500,000, and all evidence points to Ayla not leaving Justin's property alive. Investigators ruled out Ayla being abducted or wandering off, and by May 2012, law enforcement said Ayla was likely not alive. Justin's reaction to news Ayla likely being deceased was thanking law enforcement for the info, and no other reaction. At the first vigil 1 month after Ayla vanished, Justin was the first person to leave and refused to speak to the media. Justin and his brother Lance sold t-shirts, buttons, flyers, etc. to promote awareness about Ayla's disappearance. It is unknown what that money actually funded, though. In Justin's SUV and home, police found Ayla's blood present in several places. They found Ayla's blood in the living room and blood in the basement. There was Ayla's blood splattered on the wall in Justin's room in a spray pattern from coughing up blood. A 5-inch in diameter blood stain was on the mattress. There was also Ayla's blood and saliva on Justin's shoes. And they found a blue tote with blood drops in it. Inside the tote was a sheet, also with Ayla's blood spatter on it. In Justin's vehicle and in Ayla's car seat, they also found blood droplets and vomit. According to Alicia, Ayla had been vomiting a lot due to lactose issues. Ayla's blood was also found on her slippers and her baby doll. All of this blood belonged to little Ayla. This amounted to roughly 1 cup. 1 cup is about 1/4 of the blood in a 30-pound child. They actually think it ended with them rolling her up in a blanket and sticking her in a tote, said Trista. I have no idea what happened to Ayla or who is responsible, Justin claims. When confronted with blood evidence found, Justin walked out of the interview. Only some blood was visible to the naked eye. Luminol had to be used to uncover the rest, as Phoebe and Alicia allegedly assisted Justin in cleaning up Ayla's blood. Justin's family is adamant Ayla is still alive, despite all contradictory evidence and the fact that Ayla was declared deceased by probate court. Trista moved from Portland to avoid daily reminders of Ayla. In May 2019, Trista tried to find Justin for a wrongful death suit. Put out a reward on social media looking for him even. Paperwork had been filed back in 2008, and Trista went to court for official declaration to file wrongful death suit against Justin. Justin's last known location is California. He moved in 2018 from Winnetka, California, part of the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles neighborhood. Justin then skipped town and has been unable to be located. Justin, I promise you, wherever you are, one day you will have to face me and tell me the truth of what really happened to Ayla, Trista told reporters in Portland. You can't hide from this forever. Trista isn't interested in money. She wants to know what the fuck happened to her daughter. The civil suit was less about money, more about the whys, hows, and wheres of Ayla's disappearance. Neighbors and Trista put up pink lights in order to celebrate Ayla each December. I got one Halloween, one Thanksgiving, and one Christmas with her. It's all we had, Trista said. Please call 1-207-624-7143 or 1-800-452-4664 with any information. If you have any questions, concerns, complaints, please email me at minepodcast@gmail.com. All one word, and mine is spelled with 2 M's, 2 I's, 1 N, 1 E. Please include what your message is about in the subject line. Later, y'all!